Well, interesting close today. As we approach the closing bell, things are starting to fade a little bit. To show you what I'm talking about, let's go to the corn board here, and our quotes provided by bar chart. Look at this March contract now at 622 3/4. Only 1 3/4 higher now after 631 for a high. So we're off of that by about 8 cents right now. And your new crop December still 2 3/4 higher at 570 1/4. While the March had been doubling up on December's gain, now it's actually losing a little ground. That's interesting. Now on soybeans, you have March 4 1/4 higher at 1407 1/4. September up 11 1/4. And if we go to that November new crop contract, you currently have it now trading higher by 11 1/4 cents. We're at 1318 3/4. So a little bit of a spread reversal there too for the time being. Meanwhile, on the wheat in Chicago, here you currently have that March contract trading at 820 3/4. So that's 20 1/4 higher, hanging on to a good share of the gains that we had, even though it's off of its daily high by about 11 cents. Kansas City March up 18 3/4 at 836 3/4, still 18 cents off of our earlier low of the day. Let's go to the spring wheat trade in Minneapolis, only 2.5 higher at 951. Look at that high from last night, 965. So we're off of that by 14 cents. That's quite a bit of a reversal type activity there. July is up just a nickel. And in the cotton market here on the nearby March contract, right now it's trading 26 points higher at 120.64 per pound. Let's bring in Ted Seifried of Zaner Ag Hedge. He's in Chicago. Corn market kind of falling toward the lows of the day now. Ted, does that concern you?
No, not really, Marlon. I mean, this is the 7th day consecutively higher in corn. Now, whether we close here or not, yeah, we'll see. But a little cash sales, a little bit of profit taking, that's normal to see. And part of it is that wheat, while it hasn't given back all of its gains, has really simmered down off of its highs. That was the big driver this morning. We continue to be concerned about what's happening with the Ukraine and Russia and with what we're talking about now. So, yeah, but I mean, soybeans holding on to a fair amount of strength. It's certainly well off their lows. I think it looks pretty good. I think we're going to transition to corn being more of the story. So honestly, I would like to see corn set back a little bit just because I think I'd get a better buying opportunity. Because longer term, over the course of the next couple of months, with acreage coming up, with South American weather issues, with just this overall inflationary climate that we have with the economy, I think there's quite a bit of upside potential there for corn yet. So yeah, no, I'm not concerned about the fact that we have come back off our highs here a little bit today.
All right, so just a point of reference here. Earlier this morning, that corn got as high as 631, and the high back in June was 633 and maybe a half or something like that. So we got within a couple of pennies of that high from back then, and there was a level even a little higher than that back in May of 640. So those are some points that we have kind of gotten in that ballpark here today. And backed away, we'll see if that is too much resistance or not as we move forward. So something to keep an eye on. Ted, we'll come back in a moment and we'll take a look at our livestock trade right after this. Well, we're back with Ted Seifried of Zaner Ag Hedge. One thing I want to take a look at here, Ted, the energy markets, that crude oil market for West Texas Intermediate crude still rallying hard today. Up $1.88. We're at 85.19 per barrel. It had a high of 85.38. We haven't backed off of that very much here so far. Dollar value, the Dow is coming back today, and the dollar is still roughly about 100 points higher. It's at 96.015, not doing too much. The Dow, let's check it out. On the March futures, down only 77 points now at 34,176. Early this morning, it was down about 900 points. So keep that in mind. Remember, yesterday we reversed out after steep losses, closed about 100 and some points higher. Is it able to do it again? That'll be interesting to see. Live cattle trade right now, April down 7 cents at 140 even per hundredweight. That's a $0.50 off of our earlier high this morning. On the feeder cattle trade, right now you have March $1.50 lower at 159.75. That would be what, $1.50 off of our earlier high made today. In the lean hog trade, right now you have the February contract up $1.05. April now $1.75 higher. That's the biggest gain. It's at 97.07 right now, 30 cents from our high of the day. Big movement in the hogs. Ted, this cattle market here, do you think it's stuck in the water for the time being?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the stock market makes the cattle nervous. When you have big breaks like we have been seeing over the past, 10 sessions or so, it makes you a little bit nervous about demand. However, as you pointed out, that Dow yesterday and again today has really come off of its lows headed into the close. We'll see if we can hold on to that strength and maybe even get positive for the day. If we're able to do that, we're going to start feeling like, hey, the low's probably in for the stock market. The stock market always seems to come back, even when we are really fundamentally bearish. It just seems like you can't keep it down. And if that happens, then I think we can start talking about cattle going higher as well. Now, feeders are a little bit of a problem because they're kind of stuck in with the idea of which way is corn going, higher, lower. Obviously we pulled off some of the strength that we had earlier today. But like I said, if we close positive today, it'll be the 7th day in a row, and we are getting into some areas that are major resistance, but also they represent some high values in the contract. So, yeah, I don't know. Feeder cattle might be a little bit of a stick in the mud here, but ultimately, I think the live cattle contract has room to go higher. I'm looking for 150 live cattle at some point. And again, it's just sort of domestic demand being really very strong. I don't think that that's going anywhere in the near future. Maybe the rest of the market participants need to see a bounce in the stock market to feel the same way I do.
All right, well, Ted, I want to take a quick look here at the midday cutout information on the beef side here today. They were just a touch weaker. They have been trending higher for at least a couple of weeks. Took a little bit of a breather today. We had the choice cuts down 16 cents this morning at 293.34. Compared to a week ago, though, it was 289.49 back then. Still about $4 higher. Selects were down 14 cents today. Great stuff. Thank you, Ted, for joining us. I appreciate all the help. Ted Seifried of Zaner Ag Hedge in Chicago. Janet, back to you.